America. Woo-wee. Tell you what. Happy 250th America and my Americans and my nationals and my state citizens. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Let's get into it, shall we? What's up, guys? It is the Bad Wolf, as always, the man in black, the man of mystery, internationally known, the foreign national born natural. It is I, he is me, I am him, and I am what I am. Once again, and I am happy to see, blessed that each and every one of you guys keep returning to watch me and this information. If this is your first time here, especially, well, you know what, to everybody, hit that bell, like, and subscribe. As you guys know, we've suffered a couple of losses with some emails, subscriptions, things of that nature. Not sure what that was. Probably got hacked. Government. But anyway, so happy 4th of July. I'm literally recording this on the 4th, and I don't know where you guys are at, but where it is by me, it goes from hotter than Hades to now it's raining. And that sucks. So it is what it is, guys. We could talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, but you know what we're here to do. We're here to talk about the history of the driver's license. So let's take a gander. Don't mind me, I'm in my America's best. I was getting some of my jobs done and decided to jump in and make this video. Yeah, normally I would be out with friends, family, loved ones. I haven't been quite feeling so well over the last couple of days. Not sure what it was, but I definitely just recently did a parasite cleanse, so I think maybe that could be part of it. Or I'm doing some wood projects and I could be allergic to the type of wood or the dust or whatever else. As I got older, definitely have, how should I say, developed allergies and things of that nature. So all I can tell you is take care of your health and, well, take care of your mental health, financial health, physical health. Take care of yourselves. Your body, you, and your mind are the most important things. So let's get into the show, shall we? So when I was, I don't know, 20, I don't even know. I might have been younger than that. Yeah, I think I was still in college. It was either college or some, I don't even remember, to be honest. Let's see, once again, take care of your brain. Don't do drugs. Um, I was in school. I don't remember which one. This might have been, hell, maybe it was longer than 20 years ago. This would have, maybe I was in high school or just starting college, one of my college courses. I don't remember. Anyway, so I'm in school. And for some reason, this might have been civics. So yeah, it might have been older than what I just said. That's back when they had civics. Now, of course, if you guys don't know this, one of the reasons why the powers that be, okay, the public system, they don't, if you haven't noticed this, and I talk about this more on my other YouTube channel, which is Badwolf Unrestricted. So join me over there. A little reminder for that should pop up at the end of this video. They don't want you to know how to balance a checkbook, how to make food, common sense, male to female etiquette, female to male etiquette. Everybody teaches guys, you're stronger, so don't be so rough with the girls and bow and open the door and girls can do no wrong, which we all know is bullshit. Um, but where and who teaches females how to take care of men or males? It's like a lost art these days. Now, why? Why, Wolf? Why are you saying all this? Well, I'm saying this because the public school system controlled by the GOV and these elite and whatever else, and anybody's got a deep pocketbook, they want you to be at your worst, okay? Because it makes them money. They teach you the core things so that you can do business with them. Basic math, geology, America's great, Iceland is tiny, Africa is medium, all these lies. There's no land under the Antarctic. They give you what they want you to know, not what you should know. And they basically want you to leave anything that is questionable or whatever else. They want to scoff. Think about it. Where did your I know some people, love when I talk about Atlantis. Some people don't like when I talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. It's my channel. Do what I want. Where did it come from that you heard to be like, oh, Atlantis is not a real place? That was never taught in school. First of all, it was never taught in school that it was or wasn't a real thing. You heard from other people when they mentioned that. And where did that come from? That came from mainstream academia. Now, whether you're talking about that or whatever else, even like King Solomon's Temple, all these things they said weren't real. And now they're finding evidence of all that. Why? Because they've already known that they were real. They don't want you to know they're real. And that's what I've specialized my entire life in since I was in probably fifth or sixth grade is researching all of the things they don't want us to know. Everywhere they say, don't look, don't do this, that's where you should be looking. They want to say, oh, don't listen to the bad wolf and whatever else. Every day, the AIs are starting to get a little bit smarter and they're starting to pick up on the shit I'm talking about here and now because it almost no place talks about it because it's the legal level. It is the basement of the law and what's really going on. It's the seed that turns into the oak tree. You have to look at the small minutia of what's really going on. I've brought that and still bring, and I will bring more to you guys. But it seems crazy because there's almost no class you can take online. There's almost no physical place you can go to learn it because most people aren't interested in it, or so they say. And then they take all this gobbledygook down here, the minutia of law, and then they give you a distorted version of it for you to then live by, and then they beat you over the head with it every day of your life, and you don't know what's going on other than you're supposed to listen to them. Well, let me tell you, the Constitution for the United States of America is the supreme reigning law of the land anywhere that is the United States of America, or its trustee, the United States Corporation, a federal corporation. What is it? 26, 26 or 28 USC 3002, location of the debtor, federal corporation. You can look it up. These should be common things to you now if you're on my channel. So I say all this because when I watched that video years ago on the history of the driver's license, I don't even remember what class I was in, other than I think it was, like I said, civics. It's the only one that makes sense. I don't know. I've taken a lot of extra classes in summer school and even, college stuff when I wasn't enrolled in that particular college. You could take courses. So I would do that all the time. Trigonometry and calculus and all kind of other things I took, right? So why am I saying this? Because when you think about the driver's license, you don't think about the beginning of it. I haven't thought about the beginning of it, even though we've been doing Right to Travel for some time now. I've been doing it for like 10 years, but or more. Yeah, probably more now. 12 years? 10 to 12 years. I've been doing Right to Travel with a 95.67% success rate. The police are learning. They're being taught because they're getting sued and they're losing money. Now, I don't know where all of this is going to take us, but my theory is that this is going to hit a crescendo. It's going to be more widely done. They're going to start losing money. Cars will probably become automated. Then we won't need individual licenses and, whatever. It'll be a luxury if you have a regular car. It'll be expensive to have a regular car to maintain it. It'll be like almost like a novelty piece. We'll have standard vehicles that the city, states pay for, maintain, like public system. They'll probably be autonomous, driverless. You get in, you use an app, you hail one, takes you where you need to go, and that'll be it. Why? Because that's faster, smarter, and takes away that from the people, and we can eliminate accidents. Because what'll happen is so many people start to do right to travel that they'll start to lose money, and then they'll start to implement autonomous cars, and then the engines and systems will be modular, so that you when it's defunct problems, it'll go into a shop. The shop will gut the whole engine piece, put a whole new engine piece, zip, 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 and then some people or machines will work and fix that modular unit and it'll sit there. That's what it will be. Mark my words. And then eventually, once they allow for anti-grav technology to be released, then those vehicles will be just like the Jetsons, but you won't be able to drive. It'll just take you where you want to go. You have some kind of standardized account, but don't worry about that. It's not for right now. So when I watched this video on the history of the driver's license, I didn't think that 10, 15, 20 years, 20 plus years ago from then that I would need to and have remembered what transpired in that video. But I did. One of the most fascinating things, I think I was born to do what I'm doing, if I had to be honest. But I remembered then, and basically this week, and I can't find the footage, but if I do find it ever, I will provide it, upload it. I'm sure the royalty or whatever else is off on it by now. But the short version of it is that obviously the automobile, which is what it was called initially, keep that in mind. It was called an automobile. When you buy a car, it's called an automobile. Doesn't say anything about motor vehicle. But guess what? In order for the states to provide a service, it must be within their jurisdiction. In order for it to be in their jurisdiction, they must be able to name it. That's the law. Whoever owns the thing can name the thing. And if you name the thing, then it's in your jurisdiction. But it should and ought to be different enough due to copyright infringement that it is something different. Ergo, the first people who had vehicles were travelers. The automobiles then, just like now, when you buy them, are referred to as automobiles. So, what did the states do? How do we know this is even a thing? See, when it's something mandatory by law, then the government provides it. If the states provide it, it's generally a benefit and a privilege versus a right and a freedom and a liberty protected by the government. So the states came along when the automobile had been created and they seen a money making opportunity. The government doesn't provide vehicles. Government doesn't say you have to register your vehicle to us. They're the supreme power, other than God. So how come the government doesn't have a driver's license? The federal government is exempt from a driver's license because the word drive means for profit in commerce and traffic. Why is this? I'm telling you a piece of the story. We must back up to the coup d'etat, as they say. When I watched the film, I caught a very unique piece that most of you guys have never seen, thought about, or heard. When I watched the film, they were talking about how everybody in those days, after the automobile was around, and I'm going to go into it a little bit more, everybody just jumped in their vehicle, their automobile. They went wherever they wanted. Some drove slow, some drove fast. Sometimes there's accidents. Some people were damaged. And they're like, hey, you damaged me. Either you knocked it out or not, whatever. Gave them a couple of bucks, maybe a basket of apples, whatever it was. But then businesses started saying, well, wait a minute. I don't have to use the horse and buggy anymore because now they started creating things like the steamship, the steam driven vehicle, this automobile can be used to transport, oh, keyword, to move my goods as a business. Well, guess what? The business operating in the public has been regulated by the state. They said, look, you're in our geographical area. Sure, we don't own everything here, but we do control public business. That is our administration. So businesses started registering to the state to do business. You guys see where I'm going with this? So when the businesses started using the automobile and wanting an automobile with a bigger back end, I mean, nothing wrong with that, except for the BBLs. Stop. They stink. They're ugly. Just work on your butt. So the state said, wait a minute. Our businesses out here are using these vehicles, and the business has a license to operate. And if you're going to be moving these parcels, these things with other people moving these parcels and products and services and things, well, then that's what should we call that so we can make money off of these people? Because it's part of this public. We need a word for it, traffic. So that's traffic. And traffic should be licensed. And if you're a business of ours and you're doing things not quite right or you do damage, well, that's something that should be licensed. So not only should you have to apply for a public use license and put our state name on there so you know that you're underneath our registration. Those are one of our people. We control that vehicle. But we should also control the person doing it because if they mess up too many times, we should be able to penalize them. So the very first paper licenses, driver's license, DL, was paper, a cardboard, and they would rip off a piece of it. And if all of them were ripped off, you lost your license. That was it. Not a huge system, not a big thing. But that was for commercial, that was for businesses doing commerce in traffic for profit or private things, but on the public side for profit. Do you see it now? Then what happened is people wanted to be, they wanted to go from here to there, but some people who had money didn't want to do it themselves. Cars were dirty and loud. And so they started paying people to take them places to and fro. And they paid them. These were personal drivers, but they wanted people who could use the roads professionally, proper. So the states stepped in and said, let's regulate them to the point where they need to not only just get a license, but let's make sure that they know how to use the roads safely. Because in those days, people could be on the left side, right side, you just kind of weevil, wobbled, whatever else. So then the states and the rest of the money makers were like, well, let's make the roads a little nicer. Cars were getting stuck. Let's put signs up. Let's regulate that too. But it was always primarily with respect to public safety for businesses and commercial entities in traffic. Being on the road itself is not you as a private person, excuse me, private citizen, a national. Not that you can ignore the rules of the road. I can do whatever I want. I've got a do not detain passport. I'm a national. I can do whatever I want. Look at me. Look at me. No, you're still endangering public safety. Everybody has agreed that these rules are there for a good reason and they should be followed. But why do you think those signs all out there, when put out there mostly by the state, are in all capitalized letters? Because those signs are for other commercial entities, individuals who are 14th Amendment U.S. citizens who are members of theirs with their driver's license, with their regulated and registered plate and vehicle registered to them. Those are signifiers and monikers for those individuals. The state ofs are all operating under the UCC, except for like Georgia or Louisiana, one of the two. They're a little bit funny, but they're still in the same boat. Those signs, those speed limits, all those things are for them. But general right to travel, foreign national, foreign registration, non-resident registration, private citizens and individual state citizens alike, you are still supposed to use those as guidelines. These are the safety numbers. If not, you are endangering public safety and you might be under distress or an emergency. And then and only then is when police, policy enforcers for 14th Amendment U.S. citizens, for businesses doing traffic on the public roadways, which can be used by private individuals alike, are they supposed to then intercede to see what's going on with you? So do not give them a reason to bother you. Otherwise, by law, they're not supposed to even run your plates just for the hell of it, just because I'm behind you, just because I'm curious. It's if they see you doing something criminal. They have to have RAS, reasonable articulate suspicion of a crime, or that you're about to do a crime. 14th Amendment U.S. citizens whose vehicles are registered to them, they have a little bit more leeway to check in on their own members. If they see that you are under distress or your blinkers out, then they're only supposed to notify you of that, give you a warning. And if they another one pulls you over and you have not taken care of that within the 7 to 15 days, then they give you a ticket. But the police stations working with the lower level courts, Nisi Prius, the corporate level courts, the statute courts, all working together said, hey, we can make money on this. This is a moneymaker. So then they started introducing quotas. Mr. Police Officer, if you want your gold plated watch in 25 years, you better make sure you're pulling over a minimum of 40 cars a week or whatever it is. Now, they're supposed to have gotten rid of that, but the cat's out of the bag. We now know what it is. It's a money making op. They are supposed to pull over their own members who are not operating, which is commercial. That word is commercial, in the public while in traffic, perfectly driving, also public administration, commerce, driver's licenses, for profit, public side, membership. Because if you're not, they can make money. We won't talk about all the other things that some of these protect the blue line individuals have done that have been horrific, but there's also a lot of them that have done a lot of good. Matter of fact, there's been more who have done good than bad. But if you're one of the good ones and you don't anonymously report the bad ones to IA, Internal Affairs, anonymously, then how many bad cops do you really have on the force? But we'll leave that one alone too. Okay. So now we overstand the first licenses that were created were for businesses doing commerce because those businesses are registered generally to the state. That's a membership. If your vehicle is registered to the state through the DMV, a whole thing that they created just for this money making operation, the state didn't want to. They didn't want to do it all themselves. Well, then we have to do all of this. Let's just pay these entities called DMVs that'll be work for us, protected by us. Let's have them do it. It's an extension of us, but let's create a whole division for that. So if registering your vehicle to them makes your vehicle part of their membership, and then their statutes and regulations apply to your vehicle and its use, and then you get a driver's license, which is also from them, makes you then a member and subject to their statutory jurisdiction, regulations, and use. But, and this is for all the Martian mud monkey gurus out there who used to be on our side, and some of them turned traitor, but whatever, it is what it is. They're entitled. I asked Chat for perplexity in this case. I don't mess with Chat anymore. I said, when did what law and when was it enacted that that initial right that we enjoyed before businesses who were required to have a driver's license and license plate and registration fees and etc. I said, but when was that forced upon the general public? It didn't have an answer because it never happened. We just forgot the right. And yeah, some of the little gurus out there, follow me because my channel is the greatest. And they have said that there is no law for right to travel. Now, we know that there are federal court rulings that say yes, Supreme Court opinions that say yes, which they're the higher law of the land. The states don't run shit except for businesses. If there's no law, an enumerated law, which there really is, I believe it's what, the Ninth Amendment, Ninth or Tenth Amendment, which I've said it many times in numerous videos, is for a national one of the greatest things that the founding fathers and people put into place because it says anywhere where there's a right and a freedom and a liberty not mentioned or protected here, basically, if you're not hurting anybody, you have the right to enjoy it. The states cannot convert a liberty or a right into a service and charge a fee for it. If they do, it is said we have the right to enjoy that right with impunity. Holler at your boy. If you forget the past, you are doomed to repeat it, and you just may lose it forever. Now, I understand from the cop, the elite, the state's perspective. Do they want everybody going back to the old days where we can make our own nations and houses and governments and operate from out of a trust privately and then just be on the roads and they don't know who you are, they can't snoop on you, they can't steal information, can't track you. Yeah, I get it. It is way more orderly. But we wouldn't be here if they wouldn't have obfuscated our rights. Now, the first people who had driver's licenses were businesses, but then it was also chauffeurs because that's a profession. Then all of a sudden, people they created the trolleys and the buses and the steam engine, this is and that, and then those people started getting it. Well, then what happened is they gave the ability for a regular private citizen who does not need a driver's license, but does need, in fact, to be properly educated on the rules of the road for safety. They allowed those people to obtain one. They nurtured it. They lightly promoted the fact that you should be properly trained on how to use the road. And I agree. And then they said, well, now that you're trained, you should pay for this license. I asked the AI if the license is a privilege or a right. So that makes a difference. That makes a huge difference. It's not a big UFO landing on the White House lawn difference. Let's take a look. I hope everybody is healthy, blessed, fed, little beverage, with good loved ones on this holiday and every day, many days, most days. And if not, that's okay too. Is the driver's license a privilege? Oops, spelled that wrong. Or a right? In US law and practice, a driver's license is treated as a regulatory privilege to, now commercial words, operate, commercial words, motor vehicle on public roads. Okay. Then it says rights versus privilege. A constitutional right like the right to travel or free speech exists without needing government permission. Privilege. A permission is granted under conditions, tests, fees, compliance with rules, and can be restricted or revoked when those conditions are violated, especially to protect public safety. Then, of course, it goes into driving and traveling and how courts treat the license itself, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, one who gets a license is essentially joining a class or group that then must obey certain rules. Now, it said here that it's a privilege. So if driving is a privilege and it's not a right, think about that. So driving, the word driving is a privilege. If it's a privilege, it's not a right. The government doesn't protect it. If the government doesn't protect it, then it's an extra. It's not something if the government doesn't provide it and they themselves don't have it, but they tell their federal agents you should have a driver's license, then it's a membership bonus. Yes, that's a good way to conceptualize it in legal, administrative, legal, corporate and administrative. Just said it. Terms. By obtaining a driver's license, you join a regulated class of licensed drivers who are subject to defined sets of rules. Okay. Who can get a driver's license? In the U.S., almost any person who meets the state's age, identity, residency, and testing requirement. Okay. I mean, you have to be a U.S. citizen. No, you generally don't have to be a U.S. citizen to get a driver's license. Citizenship is not the baseline requirement. Non-citizens and standardized licenses. So they're telling you, you as a national can get one. Undocumented immigrants can get one. Okay. All right. All right. Um, is it true the first licenses issued generally were for commercial or business use, but not entirely just commerce? Yes. Historically, the earliest licensing laws in the United States were indeed aimed primarily at professional or commercial drivers, chauffeurs, and only later extended to cover the general population of private motorists. But the word here then is motorists. This word is commercial. So you can have a driver's law. At the time, this was, it says, and then later on. So all of the first ones were 100% commercial. And then what they said is, hey, if the general population, though they're private nationals, state citizens, want a license, then we are going to we'll allow them to get it. But while they're in the action, they in the moment thereof, they're not private citizens; they're private motorists because they control the word motor. So now you're a private motorist. which means at any point in time with this license, though it can be used to go from your home to work, to and fro, that's considered private motoring. You can jump in, not change a damn thing, and do chauffeuring, Uber, DoorDash, delivery services, because that's public. So the driver's license is capable of doing more than one thing. The Smithsonian says in New York, 1910, the law is often cited as the first modern driver's license statute. It specifically required chauffeurs, people driving is commercial, people you don't know in the public, that's what it is, driving others for what? For hire. It was started to drive, which is commercial, in traffic for hire, to be paid. So the state regulated. The state regulates anything where you are dealing with multiple people you don't know. So if you ask me, this is why prostitution is illegal. But then in Nevada or wherever else, it's not. Why? Shouldn't it be illegal all the way across the board? Because in Nevada, they regulate it. In other places, they don't want it. So wait a minute. Is it then a true right or what? Because that's confusing. If one state can say something like, you don't need a driver's license, and another one says you need it, one says you can't have sex with a prostitute, but another one says you can. Because when you deal, they claimed these states got together and they said, and think about it, there was a time when this wasn't what I'm about to say, but they got together and they said, we are going to get together and regulate our own people. Who are their own people? 14th Amendment, US citizens, public trustees, public officers, police, magistrates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then the law came along and said, well, private citizens, state citizens, nationals, can't they be one of us too? And they said yes. So they created a law. The federal code said, yes, you're right. They should have the ability to identify as one of you. 8 USC 1401. So there's a difference between a state citizen, which is a national, and a US citizen. Yes, 8 FAM 301.1-1, letter B. Boom. Holler at your wolf. At that time, everyday owners could often drive and see, I wouldn't say this, I would say travel, but the computer doesn't understand the legalities of the law quite on the same level I do. But let's work with it. So it's saying at that time, everyday owners could often drive without formal licensing, reflecting an initial regulatory focus on those operating, that's commercial, operating to drive for profit is operating, that's public, that's profit, as a trade or business. So your legal name, your straw man, is a business or it's a trade of the United States, giving you the ability to then operate vehicles and do Uber, DoorDash, etc. Where safety and responsibility were viewed as professional obligations. So, for professional reasons and obligations to the state, if you wanted to operate your vehicle commercial for profit, for hire, you had to pass an exam and a license. But there was a time before 1910, because the first license was issued right around 1889. So the AI doesn't even have all that correct. People were driving for those years without anything, and for many years after that, until about the 1920s and the 1930s. Car ownership exploded and accident rates rose. States shifted from targeting mainly commercial drivers to acquiring licenses for all operators. So they basically must have ran a campaign back in those days and said, hey, look, we need to regulate drivers. And guess what? People fell for it. Said, oh, I'm a driver because I get my vehicle and I behind the steering wheel. I just get one of these commercial, oh, they dropped the word commercial, driver's license. But don't worry, guys. Once you're licensed professional, you just have to pay a yearly fee one time. Then now it's every year. Now your vehicle, now your plate, now you're going too fast. So, but you can then at any point in time do something basically commercial. Oh, but if you want to do like the big rigs and other larger things, then you need an even more special commercial driver's license. So for the average person, they drop the word commercial. But the moment you're doing Uber, that's commercial. Anywhere where you're dealing with you servicing multiple people you don't know, that is public. That is commercial. So to trick the average person, the driver's license just says driver. That's why you don't need anything special when you do Uber because it's already built in. It was already that. They just dropped the word commercial, but it can be used commercially up to a certain point. Then they started regulating the big rigs and say, oh, well, now you need a CDL. Well, guess what CDL stands for? Commercial driver's license. But that training for that particular identification document is for more dangerous, more professional operations and operators for non average, light level commercial driving experiences and events. Okay. So when did the Fed or the states draft a law? You guys ready? Ending the right to travel in a vehicle. I didn't phrase that quite right, but let's see what it says. No federal or state law ever ended the right to travel by vehicle. Boom, shaka laka, shaka laka, shaka laka, shaka, boom, shaka laka, shaka laka, shaka laka, shaka, boom. I'm sorry. You know what I haven't done in a while? I haven't howled. Would so like to say some guru names right now, but that's petty. Y'all know who y'all are. I don't need to say shit. So wait a minute. They never created a law removing that right. Huh. I bet people are going to share this video as well all my videos. Oh, I'm sitting in it right now. You guys, not you, my good people, learning the naysayers out there. So I don't know. Let's do math. Can you guys do math? If the right was never revoked and we did it, and now we know that driver's licenses were created for commercial entities to be regulated by the state, for dealing in the public, which is their jurisdiction. I mean, you, did I prove my point? Let's get back in there. Huh. No federal or state law ever ended the right to travel by vehicle. Instead, states gradually required licenses to operate motor vehicles. So they basically said, hey, look, if you guys want to be on the roads and you're tired of accidents, we're requiring drivers. So even though the people at the time didn't realize what was going on, they were being Jedi mind tricked. Kind of like when they took all of our gold, they said all U.S. citizens must give us their gold. They were only talking about 14th Amendment U.S. citizens, not nationals. Oops. So the states gradually required licenses to do what? Operate. Well, that sounds like a license to do something for profit. I'm not doing anything for profit. Motor vehicles. Well, motor vehicles would only then be automobiles registered to them on public roadways. I'm don't I'm not doing anything that requires public intervention. I'm not doing anything for profit. I'm doing this privately, traveling in my automobile on the public roads that can be used privately, paid for by me and people like me, US citizens and nationals alike, with our tax dollars. So there are roads. They are to administrate them, they are to maintain them. They are the trustees. We are the grantors and the beneficiaries. Star it. While courts continued to recognize a general right to travel. Wikipedia. I'm sorry, we have to go back. No federal or state law ever ended the right to travel by vehicle. Period. That ass, though. These laws did not say you no longer have the right to travel in a vehicle. They said you must be licensed if you're going to operate a motor vehicle, which means for profit, register your vehicle and deal with people you don't know. When you do business with multiple people you don't know, that's an operation. And if you're going to do it with a vehicle, your automobile then turns into a motor vehicle when you register it. Case closed, bitches. So, when does an automobile become a motor vehicle? There isn't a single universal moment when an automobile becomes a motor vehicle. It depends on the legal definition of being applied. Okay. That means a privately owned automobile built for normal road use is a motor vehicle from the standpoint of federal safety. Nope, you're wrong. Incorrect. When I bought or a person buys an automobile, on the sales slip, it is called an automobile. This is correct. However, the moment I register it to the state's DMV, etc., it then legally is regarded and so registered to be an motor vehicle. The Fed, what did it say up here? Historically, there are federal definitions where motor vehicles limited to vehicles used for commercial purpose. There it is. However, in everyday licensing registration, okay, an automobile becomes a motor vehicle when it's designed, intended, and permitted for use on public roads, whether for business or purely private, non-commercial travel. So what they're saying here is your vehicle, if you're not doing anything commercial, you're essentially kind of traveling. But if it's registered, you're traveling under the commercial wing, but privately. You're not using this for commercial purposes. But once again, up here it says federal definitions that motor vehicles limited to vehicles for commercial purpose. You know, it's its use. What is the use of it? And is it registered? You're right to notice that automobile and motor vehicle are used differently in everyday commerce. There we go. Versus legal regulatory language. But legally, the federal definition of motor vehicle does not hinge on the DMV registration. It hinges on how the thing is manufactured and intended to be used. So, in other words, and this is another interesting part, I almost forgot about it. Okay. Is that if you look in your car, this is a very powerful video, guys. A lot of goodies in this one. This shuts 99% of the bullshit down. When you look in your vehicle, because what is the vehicle itself is manufactured in such a way that it's commercial. So guess what? Your vehicle is designed for commercial use. So is your firearm. Gem drop there. When you get in your car and you put your vehicle into what to make it go forward? Drive. The vehicle itself was designed to be used for commercial use. You've been using it, well, if you do right to travel, privately. But for the regular person out there who's a driver who drives, who's got a driver's license and their car is registered, you're using that vehicle the way it was actually intended. But much like a US national, we can operate in different capacities. So can your automobile. So that piece of machinery out there is sold as an automobile, but it was created commercially and it can be used either or. By the 14th Amendment, U.S. citizen with a driver's license, subject to the rules and regulations of the state and thereof, DMV, or it can be used privately, like your main man's the wolf here. Still means you have to abide by the rules of the road. Still means you have to let the DMV know that the vehicle is being used by you. Optionally, with my other last video and something I've just done myself, I'm waiting to hear back from them. You can send off to the state and the DMV a letter of reciprocity. Hey, I'm traveling privately as a foreign under foreign registration. or non-resident registration. The DMV already knows who owns the vehicles. It's not me because my name is registered to the state of the corporation, but it's owned by my private entities, registered to the government or completely private. Shot goes out to Jackie Fig. Rest in peace. Thank you for your work. It helped me in more ways than you know. And now it's helping others. So we see through it now, guys. That's it. We are almost really at the end of right to travel. We've everything that we can get on the public side for the passports, we've accomplished. Anything that's considered national security, like the stars, like the Department of State told me, the stars are considered national security. That's not going to ever be put out there. We've crushed the passport, and now we've just crushed right to travel and the driver's license. Let's see if there's any last bits of it. So the federal government, who uses the commercial term motor vehicle, they should have the word automobile and what that means compared to this. But by the government's definition of it, it's a vehicle driven. So here, once again, so this is commercial. This now takes on the commercial connotations. So commercial, commerce, meaning non-public or non-private, excuse me, non-private. This means also for money. This means in traffic, commerce, regulated. They don't draft a whole bunch of things about the private, the unregulated, foreign, because it's not their jurisdiction. These people, we do not owe them shit. This is a choice. A license is a privilege. It's a choice. The D, got it right here for you. The D in your car, in the transmission, gear shift is for driving. That vehicle was created to be driven for public things, but it has the ability to change capacity and to be used for private. When you buy it, it's called an automobile. When you sell it, it's called an automobile. When you registered it, it becomes a motor vehicle. Whether you use it for that or not is up to you. A police officer, his patrol car is a motor vehicle all day. He must have it maintained. He cannot have lights out. We must obey those same things when we register our vehicle because now we're saying, I want to be held to the same level of administrative public law as a member of the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen of the state of, as a police officer, as a public trustee, drawn by mechanical power and manufactured primarily for use on public streets, roads, and highways, but does not include vehicle operated only on a rail line. Operated. For-profit public commerce traffic. So the moment you buy a typical car that is manufactured for normal road use, it's already fitted for under federal definition as a motor vehicle. An automobile is any four-wheeled vehicle that is propelled by fuel, alternative fuel, manufactured for use on public streets, roadways, etc., under 10,000 pounds. The car is both. But who owns the car? How the car is used? And if the car is registered, like the national, shifts its in the moment, in this current event, how it is viewed legally. Why your intuition makes sense practically. From a practical standpoint, for a private owner, the moment of DMV registration feels like the moment your automobile becomes a motor vehicle because that is when the state begins treating it as part of the regulated fleet subject to licensing, plates, insurance, and enforcement. The government says our definition of motor vehicle is what that car is when it comes off of the assembly line. This is also true. So when you buy it from a private dealer, not the government, not the state, though the car is set up to be regarded as public or private, that's a private transaction from the dealership. But where they screw you is they keep the MCO, the Master Certificate of Origin, because the DMV, by means of the state, strong arm the dealers to give them the MCO. Why do they want the private, most powerful document? Because that document declares that vehicle to then be an automobile. It also then gives them some leeway into your business. Now, I don't know because I've never had a MCO, but I do know that the states their dicks get hard when it comes to anything private documents. Though they don't want to refer to you as anything private, they want your certificate of live birth from the hospital. They want the master certificate of origin from the dealer and the manufacturer. You can get or sue for the MCO for your vehicle. Either they, I don't know if the MCO, I don't think the MCO has, but I think what happens, I think I just cracked their code, guys. They take the original documents, keep them for master control over said product, person, or etc. And then they issue the certificate of title, which is a mock title. It's a private title in their system, which is part of the public. And then they put the QSIP number on it, issue it essentially on bond paper, and make money on that file certificate on you. I think that's what it is. Take away your rights as much as they can, obfuscate it, issue something from them, which puts you underneath their registration and ownership and control to a certain degree legally, and then to double or triple down on it, put a QSIP number on there, make money on it. And if you don't know how to collect that credit, which I don't, we've made theory videos on it, just like they do with the uh, social security card, marriage license, etc. And you don't know, then they can collect on it when it matures. or when you give it back to them to turn it in. Just my theory. A lot of practical points in there that are fact, but generally just a theoretical, you know, conjugation of information. All the pieces look like they fit. Education and entertainment from your favorite non-belligerent, non-combatant. Peaceful nation of Levitica. Do any of the states have an document or form to unregister the vehicle or close out the driver's license? Yes. Many states do have procedures and forms to cancel or unregister a vehicle's registration. And some also provide mechanisms to cancel or surrender the driver's license. Department of Revenue, Georgia. States commonly allow you to voluntarily cancel a vehicle's registration when you sell it, comma, next subject, stop using it on public roads, comma, next subject, or store it off road, comma, often via specific cancellation form. Example, Georgia, application for voluntary registration cancellation can be filed online, MV18J. Massachusetts, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Nevada, Connecticut. Driver's license. Creating your own generic forms. If they don't have one or you can't find one, you make your own, you keep a copy, put in your vehicle, don't put your address on it, send one to them. Jump back in. We're not done yet. Run it back. Run it back. So if one was to want to use their vehicle privately for non commercial usage, what would that look like and how to go about this legally to be considered foreign vehicle registration or non resident registration or private use only, uncommercial, etc. There it is. In the US, there is no general recognized path to operate a typical car on public roads as private, non-commercial, foreign, or non-resident while avoiding state registration licensing. If you are, keyword, so here's where it switched, a resident. This is what your name is when you registered it. So you can't do it under your name if it's in their system. States typically have provisions allowing non-resident owners to operate vehicles that are registered in another jurisdiction without obtaining local registration. California, VC section 6700, non-resident may operate a non-commercial vehicle registered in their home jurisdiction in California until they accept gainful employment. So here's why what we do works. When you put your vehicle into a private irrevocable trust, your own government, your own nation, whatever else, not registered through the state, you can do it through the government if you want with your EIN. It then becomes part of the federal jurisdiction or your own private one. That name of the entity not being registered makes the entity now the non-resident that owns the vehicle or the foreign registered vehicle that owns the vehicle. The federal government, like we've seen above, and the states never created a law to take away your right. We just forgot about it. Like the old TV commercial. Where's the beef? Some of y'all never even heard that commercial. Some of y'all never seen it. Some of y'all forgot about it. So just now, guess what? Still out there somewhere. We forgot about our right of private versus commercial registration. Affidavit of non-use and off-road private property use. Some states like California provide formal mechanisms to declare a vehicle off-road or non-use. Okay, kind of gives you a little bit of a roadmap how to do it. Not as good as mine, but so basically, by law and legally, from their side of the tracks, in order to not be in their juris, etc., driving, one must, I hate to use the word, but operate as a or be a non-resident owner complying with non-resident registration and or foreign vehicle registration. See, what you guys don't understand is there's two sides of the track. There's the private side, which is where I usually talk from, and then there's the public side where I, give you guys instruction. So from their side, looking out and looking, we'll say looking in their own shit. Their language is Greek. We must learn to speak Greek To parlez-vous français? Well, that's actually French. My bad. Um, Greek would be Yasu Tikanis. Okay. So if you're speaking Greek, they have to look at it in the Greek language and say, well, look, we don't understand that whole private, unregistered stuff, blah, blah, blah. We don't get that. I think what you're saying, what you mean, let's convert what you're saying into our Greek language, is that you want to be a non-resident owner who utilizes and operates their vehicle with private registration, either considered non-resident or foreign. Yes. From our side, all that they hear is right to travel, blah, 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 something, 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 something. Stupid. Legally, this is how what we're doing needs to be said. When you don't use their words, they don't understand you. You are correctly zeroing in on the core point. The only clearly lawful way to be outside a state's resident vehicle driver jurisdiction while still driving on the public roads is to actually be a non-resident and operate under non-resident or foreign registration rules. This is the same thing. We're saying the same thing, but this is how they say it. I can say the word very good. That's English to you. But I can also say the word very good in Greek. Pulikala. We're saying the same thing, but it doesn't sound the same unless you speak both languages. I speak both. The law, though, when they're in their offices and patrol cars and courthouses, they only speak this. They don't speak Greek. They don't speak private. Now, at home, do some of them do private shit? Hell yeah, they do. But they can't acknowledge that while in their own jurisdiction where they only speak Greek. You need to learn how to, or they only speak their language, legalese. You then need to speak legalese. This is where the confusion and problems come from. And they have made no attempt to learn our language. Even if they know it, they're not going to say it in court. They're not going to say it at the patrol car. They don't want to get into trouble. Their whole system is built on this language. They're here to promote their shit, their language, not you and yours, especially not while on duty in the office, charged thereof, even though they've taken an obligation to protect the American by taking an oath to the Constitution. They all did it. When you're dealing with them, they're not in constitutional capacity. They're in statutory capacity. You must learn to read and understand statutory capacity, statutory language, statute, commerce, business, court, trust, jurisdiction. How non-resident foreign registration actually works. They get it. They know what it is. Look, California 6,700 again. Boom, boom, boomity boom. New York, boom, 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 boom. Why private non-commercial doesn't exist exit jurisdiction? Because there's a private side to the commercial, to the public. On the public side, There's also a private over there. So just by saying private doesn't exist in their from their perspective, just because you're saying you're private and what you're doing is non-commercial, that doesn't mean you've exited the jurisdiction. If you want to exit the jurisdiction, you have to get the vehicle out of your name. And from their perspective, registered to another jurisdiction. All they know is jurisdiction. Your shit must be registered to another jurisdiction. So that's what we're doing. You can't just put private on your plate and be like, that's it. They will fudge with you because they're private to what? We own some private shit too, Sonny Jim. And then they go and pull your your DMV record, your VIN number, and it comes back that it's still in your name, but you've got a plate that just says private. This is where they get the term sovereign citizen from. You're mixing things. You haven't all the way left their jurisdiction. And if you do stupid shit or criminal or speed on the streets, you're pulled back into their jurisdiction, even if you're doing right to travel. They regulate the streets, public or private, but they have nearly absolute control over the public, their people. They lose 95% of it over somebody who's privately operating or in foreign vehicle capacity. See, like right here, from their perspective, private use means registered as a personal or non commercial vehicle. Driver is licensed, still under jurisdiction. So you can't just say this is really private use because they own the word private use. They have a private side within their public jurisdiction. You have to be private, private, which then means to make the owner of the vehicle foreign or a non resident to them. Could you register your car to, well, actually, hell, I think Canada has sucked all the dick too. I think they're part of the US system, or they can give you tickets down here, I believe. But could you do it with Mexico or South America or Russia? Yeah, because they're not all on the US corporation or the state's dick. Could I use the Ninth Amendment? I got fat fingers. It is what it is. Deal with it. Um, to enforce my right to travel. So, yeah, you can invoke the Ninth Amendment as part of the constitutional argument that a right to travel exists. Now, see how courts recognize right to travel. Intrastate, so within the state, leaving the state. So it's saying yes. So if you go to court over right to travel, you want to invoke the Ninth Amendment. Yes, the right to travel is a fundamental, often unenumerated constitutional right. Boom, boom, boom. And the Ninth Amendment is part of the backdrop that says not all rights have to be listed. Now, it talks about how the courts almost never use that because most of the lawyers don't bring this up. The moment you bring up anything constitutional, article, etc., in a general court, they're going to try to get you out of there because that court has not been convened as constitutional, though it has the ability to operate under common law and to hear such things. They don't like it. You've seen it for yourself. One little piece, like remembering driver's licenses were created, the reason for their creation and what they are by nature is a commercial agreement, membership, privilege for their people, their persons, businesses, trade, entities, association, where this means then if you're not doing public commercial transactions, dealing with lots of people in a public capacity, you don't have to have a driver's license. You still need to obey the rules and regulations of the road, safety concerns, etc. We just prove that that right, it said it itself, has never been voided, taken away. So if it has never been taken away, it's still there. The problem that they use against us is because it hasn't been enumerated. So they don't want to respect it. But if the Constitution did enumerate it, then they would hate it even more. So it's in a, from their perspective, it's obvious for those of us over here in the private. But to people who only respond and respect codes and statutes, and by respect, I mean use, and I don't mean respect as in they respect it, but they use it. Codes, rules, and regulations, it's invisible to them what we're doing until they look in their computer and they see that the owner of the vehicle is not registered to do business with them. It's not a member of theirs. And as long as you're not breaking the law, doing anything criminal, anything they do against you is a violation of your rights. You then have to go to court and present said information, of which, guys, don't forget to go to jamesclovett.com. I have I think it's discounted video on right to travel and how to fight that in court. Doesn't mean that all of the techniques are in there, but a majority of them that you can use. You can still do a consultation with me on taxes, right to travel, trusts, et cetera, et cetera. There's some free videos there, and there's, of course, some paid ones dealing with court and whatever else. I've won mine. I did not follow federal suit because I was still learning this at the time, and I believe you only have a 2 year window to do that. So we've lowered the third veil. We will still continue to make little bits and pieces on right to travel, but with this new information, definitely stand more confident on it. With the ability for the reciprocity to let them know what we're doing, or the document of export, creating that and basically telling the US system in the States that your vehicle is being exported from the US corporation into the private, to your entity or whatever jurisdiction you have or you're a part of. One of the last ones I'll make probably will be on the MCO. If there's any piece you guys see that I missed, or a definition or something else you guys think we can add to this section of it, let me know. Otherwise, that's really it, guys. We now know the terminology of the words. We now know about ownership, who is subject. We now know that our rights have never been really taken away, but they're trying to obfuscate them, hide them under paperwork. So no matter what you guys do when you're out there on the road, understand that the officer, whoever else you may deal with, and that's where 99% of the problems come from, they don't know this information. This does not give you permission to disrespect them or to be a belligerent or combatant. Be cool. Make sure you have everything done per my videos. Do not just slap a plate on. Do it all. If you need a consultation or a walkthrough, that's what I'm here for. As long as they're not, and hear me when I say this part, an officer has the right to do his duty to a certain degree. Can always request a commanding officer who's then in charge. If either officer is denying you of your rights, survive the moment by complying. Tell them you're doing this under duress. You can get your car out of tow. I've done mine twice. You can get released, but you cannot make another you. You are responsible for you and how you use this information, not me, not anybody who does this, unless they put you underneath their nation or government or whatever. If you comply while stating your rights, the government will be on your side. That's what the law states. The government says they will not defend somebody using the privilege and then wanting to, if you will, disrespect or not abide by it. But they will when you're executing your right to freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The only time you should be a belligerent or combatant is if you're about to be essayed by anybody, including law enforcement, or it's a immediate moment where your life is in peril. Now that doesn't mean you goat them in and then try to do something, we'll say pew pewish or whatever else. because you had the ability, though scary at the time, to be a non-belligerent, non-combatant, and to settle this matter, even if they are wrong. Survive the encounter, sue them in their public and private capacity. Go after the municipality, but you have to be alive and well to do that. Make your money, get paid if they deny you of your rights, if they do damage. Other than that, I want everybody to have a good, safe summer. Thank you for watching. Travel safe or drive safe. Be safe nonetheless. Once again, this is all education, entertainment, and though these are my experiences, individual results may vary. We here at Badwolf Unincorporated, jameslovett.com, etc., do not take any responsibility whatsoever for how individuals or persons use this information. Do your own research, vet the knowledge. Everything I just showed you or Googled or Perplexity, AI, you can do the same for yourself. I encourage it. Unlike a lot of people out there, I encourage you guys to double check my work and to bring new things to me. Sometimes I will take what you guys have sent in the comments or email and I'll make a video out of it. Wolves always game up and sharpen other wolves. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Last, I do have two Facebook groups now. Both of them, the originals, the OGs, the real ones, are called The Badwolf Unincorporated. Badwolf is always one word, not separated for how I do it. The Badwolf Unincorporated, The Badwolf Unrestricted on Facebook. My video seminars that you guys can watch, jameslovett.com. Of course, you're already here, so thank you for that. My official main website is blacksite32.com. I invite anybody who wants to share my videos to share them. If people have their critiques, they're allowed to do that to some degree. But if you do see or use any of these videos in any type of way of negativity, sovereign citizen calling me, or whatever else, you will be sued. Defamation of character. If anybody sees anybody using me or my materials in any type of unapproved way, hit that bullying, slander button and report them or their YouTube channel. If anybody sees anybody using anything in a inappropriate way with my image or voice or likeness or whatever else, report them as well. Take care of yourselves out there, guys. Protect yourselves and your information and your mental sanity and safety. I appreciate you. Have a great one.